Total Screen proudly presents the Weekly Set Podcast with Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig. Episode 238, recorded January 13th, 2020. Hello everybody and welcome to the Weekly Set, the official podcast of the Total Screen. I'm your host, my name is Tyson, and joining me today as always is my partner in crime here at the Total Screen, William Rohrig.
Hello.
So today we are going to be doing our best of 2019. It seems every year this list gets harder to make as just there's more and more TV and there's more and more stuff we've missed. But we're trying and we're doing our best here, so if you're angry that we missed a show on here, there's probably a pretty good chance that that's just because we didn't see the show. But there's also a good chance that, hey, there's lots of other good TV besides just what, the one thing you happen to really attach to,
Right, exactly.
So yeah, we put together a list. We worked on it each on our own, to try to kind of come up with the best choices we could. We fought bravely against the dragon known as recency bias. And I think we've both come to lists that we're happy with to some extent. Of course, as I said before we even started the podcast, we're never going to be 100% happy with a list like this. We're always going to be wanting to tinker it here and there, And might wake up tomorrow and go oh, why did I pick this one? It should be this one. But at a certain point, you got to draw a line and say, okay, this is the cutoff. This is what we're putting on record. And that's what we're doing today. So this is our best of 2019. And let's kick things off. I'm going to let you go first. Our first category is Best Technical Production. What is your pick?
Well, predictably, I'm going to have to go with it was Game of Thrones, of course.
I'll just say right off the bat, same.
Okay.
So we don't have to repeat it, but yeah.
Yeah, it was, come on. Just look at the episode The Bells to show, just how much went into that.
They rebuilt, several city blocks.
Yeah.
Of King's Landing, of Dubrovnik, basically, which is where they filmed King's Landing. And they rebuilt like that. And just to blow it up.
Yeah, just to blow it all up.
I watched a whole thing on it. They built those buildings destroyed and then fixed them so that they were whole so that they knew exactly how they would break when they were blasted. So they built the city destroyed and then made it fixed.
Oh, wow.
So that when they'd set off an explosion, everything would be where they it would be destroyed in the way they wanted it to be.
That's really cool, actually. I didn't know that.
So yeah, that's, and as dark as, the Long Night episode was, where people complained, and dark literally, where people complained about not being able to see things, the production on that was insane,
Yeah, oh yeah, so much had to go. Game of Thrones, say what you will about the final season, where you loved it or hate it, you can't deny that technically it was an ambitious production that was well executed on a technical level.
Oh, it's so far beyond anything else on TV is on that level.
Yeah.
That's the thing is some people there's arguments I've seen left and right about people talking about oh, I think The Witcher is better. I think this is better. And it's regardless of your opinion of story, acting, performance, writing, anything like that at all.
Right.
On a production level, there isn't anything that rivals Game of Thrones on TV right now.
Yeah, I'm almost at the end of The Witcher, but I don't think there's going to be anything in these last two episodes that comes
not even close
to Game of Thrones. Just don't think it's happening.
Yeah. Not to say there's anything bad with The Witcher. There's good stuff in The Witcher. In the first episode, there's a great fight scene.
Oh yeah.
But we're talking about production. We're talking about the whole production, and it's just not at that scale.
Not yet. Maybe, I don't know, maybe in the future, but not yet.
Yeah, maybe by the time it's at season 8.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's our first category. We're just doing the one because we had the same pick. Now, our next category is in a similar vein. It's Best Artistic Production. I'll go first on this one. Mr. Robot is my pick.
Fair.
It's not as artsy as some of the others. I think last year I picked Legion, or maybe the year before, I don't remember, but there's ones that have kind of a more artsy stuff. But Mr. Robot consistently has amazing camera work. it does a lot in an artistic way that isn't necessarily in the same vein as what you'd used to see. Just the way things are shot and the way things are how do I say, the way shots are framed with, they give like lots of lead room. So it's just very iconic to Mr. Robot, to that style of the show. You could like see a shot without any characters and know what show it is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's a thing about Mr. Robot that's really good. And in this season in particular, they played a lot with form. We talked about that. Sam Esmail played a lot with form through this season.
Including a 5-act play structure in the one episode with their...
Yes, and every time they managed to do like little tricks here and there that were gorgeous and interesting. I mean, in that one episode you'd mentioned they did that camera where it pulled over and it went between the rooms and it went through the fireplace. And it was like lots of little things like that and stuff. Mr. Robot is, it's a film student's delight.
Yes, it is. I picked Legion just because, regardless of what's going on in the episodes or the actual writings, Legion is always a visual feast. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, they got that down pat. And, this season was no exception.
It was definitely on my short list.
Yes.
But yeah, Legion is definitely got, an insane insane artistic production going on. So, yeah, it's an amazing show. There's some crazy stuff this season, of course, as well with Legion. I liked the whole world when Sid was in her mind or whatever, when she got her mind wiped.
Oh, yeah.
It is this very like Victorian or something like world with the big bad wolf and everything. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was really good. That was a really cool episode, actually.
Let's move on to our next category, best writing.
Okay, I picked Mr. Robot, because how could it not be Mr. Robot? I mean, Sam Esmail, it was just a masterpiece. I mean, from start to finish, like, it started off really strong, and then the entire season kept up that pace. Like, he never, once dropped the ball with the writing throughout the entire season. I thought that was pretty remarkable. I mean, most shows, they have these lulls in the season, where you're kind of like, okay, let's get to the next episode. I don't think I had, felt like that for 1 minute with Mr. Robot this season. I was, always engaged.
Mr. Robot has always had great writing, so it's Sam Esmail is very much an auteur, and that goes down to the whole process, not just the directing and the editing and everything, but the writing as well.
Right.
So my pick was Lodge 49. I don't think you've seen this one.
I have not seen that, no.
But it's about a secret society, and it kind of presents itself a little bit almost like a Big Lebowski style comedy thing. And that's kind of the initial impression it gives off. But it gets in and it's more just about these people in this town that's kind of falling apart. Like the jobs are just evaporating and everybody's down on their luck, and there's a sadness to it, but there's also a whimsy. And I just think in particular this season, which is unfortunately its last because the show was canceled, it doesn't end as if it's its last season because it wasn't planned to be its last season. Unfortunately, it was canceled.
Oh, that's a shame.
But it was a great season, and it had great writing, really great character study, I feel, from beginning to end, the series. But this season in particular, I think, really hit its stride with everything. Yeah, sad news sometimes. Next category is Best Music. My pick is a show we talked about last week, and that's Watchmen. The music for Watchmen was done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, Nine Inch Nails, for those who don't know. I really think they did a great job of doing just kind of a whole wide range of music, from this very Nine Inch Nails sounding kind of action themes for the main characters and stuff, but then they also did these kind of old-timey tunes for the flashback episode, and they did this amazing soft delicate piano cover of Life on Mars by David Bowie that they used at the end of the 7th episode when you have the Dr. Manhattan reveal. I just think from beginning to end the music in Watchmen was fantastic.
Nice, yeah. My pick was The Umbrella Academy, because the way that they used music in the various scenes throughout the series was just great.
The music licensing budget on that show had to be through the roof.
yeah, it had to be through the roof. One of my favorite scenes in the show was the scene where number 5 was in the donut shop with the assassins, and they were playing Istanbul, Not Constantinople by They Might Be Giants.
Yeah.
And I just thought, yeah, this is great. I thought the use of music in the show was fantastic.
Did they do like a Queen song too for like another sequence?
I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah.
That show had an insane roster of like classic rock and like, you know, just kind of expensive to license songs, you know?
Yeah.
That was interesting. I remember talking to somebody that thought that the budget on Brown County wasn't that big, and I was like, what are you talking about? Not even just the music budget, but man, like there's so much on that show that looks expensive as hell.
Right, yeah. But
the music, man, ooh. Yeah, I had a huge music budget, I'm sure. And great picks.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Fantastic.
So next category is Best Performer.
I picked Kristen Bell because she did double duty this year and knocked out of the park both times. I mean, she did The Good Place, obviously, and she did Veronica Mars. That returned this year.
Very different characters, but both kind of snarky characters, but in very different, like, tones.
Yeah,
you know?
in very different tones, very different ways. Yes, very different characters. And you know, she was great in both of them, you know. And I just thought, yep, that's my pick.
Mine, I had a hard time narrowing this down. I had two that were up at the top of my list that were constantly vying. The one I didn't end up picking was Mahershala Ali in True Detective Season 3.
That would have been that was on my short list.
I had a hard time skipping over that, but I ended up going with Rami Malek as Elliot/Mastermind in Mr. Robot.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah, phenomenal, especially that 5-act play.
Yeah,
episode.
the episode where he learns about his father, the reality of his father. Like, that's so powerful. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, they could have just had the camera on his face for the rest of the episode, and that would have been enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was emoting so much, it was crazy. So yeah, just great job. So happy to see Rami Malek become like a household name.
I'm so happy, like he got the Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody, because he's that good. He deserves an Oscar. Good for him.
And now he's going to be a Bond villain, so that's like
so that's going to be
he's building up that resume, man. He's gotten some crazy stuff now.
Yeah, he has.
So, and I'm glad he was able to kind of say farewell to Mr. Robot with such a strong performance as well. Our next category is Best Ensemble Cast. My pick, I've usually gone with like dramas like Game of Thrones or Westworld or something. This year I went with What We Do in the Shadows.
That is a good pick. That's a good pick.
I think every character in that like epitomized the role, you know, like it was like perfect. And I mean, like I couldn't give any of them an individual award. Like I didn't look at any of them and go, oh yeah, that's my best protagonist, or that's my best antagonist, or that's my best performer.
That's what I was
thinking. As a whole,
too.
It was my ensemble cast pick.
Okay.
I thought they were fantastic.
That makes sense, yeah, because that's what I was thinking too, because I was thinking about, when I was thinking about like these best antagonists, but I was thinking about like considering it, and I was thinking, I can't pick a single one of them out, single any one of them out. I mean, that show only works as an ensemble.
Yeah, I mean, what do you have? You don't, if you just have the one, like, Vampire Master guy without his assistant Guillermo, like, it doesn't work, like, it's having those two together. It's having that whole group, the three main vampires together, it's all that working together in conjunction that makes it so good.
Yeah, the most of the comedy comes through how each of them play off of each other.
Yes. And the cast is just going to keep getting better. They just announced Mark Hamill is joining in season 2, so I'm like, can't wait to see how he fits in there. But man, yeah, great ensemble cast. And I love that. So what was your pick?
So my pick was Stranger Things 3. I think it's
Stranger Things, great ensemble cast as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know what I need to say here. It's just that if anybody's watched Stranger Things, and I'm sure everybody's familiar.
Yeah. They had some great additions to it though,
with Maya Hawke.
Yeah, Maya Hawke was a great addition, fit very naturally with everybody else.
Yeah, fit very naturally into things. The one kid, his little sister, like, they gave her, like, a big role this season, and that really worked very well, I thought.
Yeah, and they continued to iron out and make, like, Billy and Max feel more necessary to the plot in, like, a good way. Yeah, they have a great cast on that.
It also didn't hurt that, like, I felt like this season was much improved over the comparatively weak season 2.
Oh, yeah. They definitely upped the horror and stuff, and they have the cast for it, and it really worked out well. A lot of the new cast members that I'm like, oh yeah, they really added to it are like gone now because this was a much more horror-centric season, so like they're dead, you know? Like Jake Busey's character was great, you know? And then he's gone,
and then, and then he's dead. Like in the
one like Russian
way.
Scientist guy they brought on, you know, was great, and then he's gone, you know?
That was sad. And yeah, that was like amazing how they could bring on a character like that and then get you really invested in him in such a short amount of time and then make you feel something when he dies. You know.
Yeah. All right. So next category is best showrunner.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your pick?
Well, it's going to be Sam Esmail because you know he was one of the 2 showrunners that I know of who had a show ending this year or last year, and he was the one who stuck the landing.
That's true. Sam Esmail did a great job. He's always been a great showrunner for the series. My pick is, you're probably gonna hate it.
I'm gonna hate it, yeah.
Because we talked about last week, it was for Watchmen, Damon Lindelof. I think the degree of difficulty on what he took on was insane, and the amount he did in world building for this season was just sick. Like the amount of work that went into like really establishing a world and stuff. And I know you don't like the show, but man, so much detail went into that and in planning out and plotting this world. And I think that he just did such a phenomenal job on that.
Fair. I have to give him that. I can't dispute anything that you said, to be honest. Regardless of what I thought of the actual quality of the show, you're correct in those details.
Yeah. Our next category is Best Protagonist. So my pick is Johnny Lawrence, as portrayed by William Zabka in Cobra Kai Season 2.
Oh, yeah, I didn't watch Cobra Kai Season 2. I should get on that.
Yeah. It's tricky, like, people don't want to subscribe to, you know, YouTube Premium or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I think the whole thing might be free just on YouTube now, or like it's weird. They're making certain things free and then making them not free again. They're like doing the whole Disney Vault thing for some reason.
Oh, that's just stupid.
I mean, if you get the premium, then it's all there. But I mean, they're doing it on the free tier. They're doing like the Disney Vault thing with it for some reason. But for the show itself, we both liked Cobra Kai Season 1, and we both really liked, you know, the character of Johnny Lawrence is portrayed by William Zabka in that role. Mm-hmm. And we talked about it, I think, last year or the year before. I can't remember which year the last season came out in. But
I think 2018 was the first season.
But yeah, so in this season, it went a little bit further, you know, because they brought in a lot of characters from his past that, like, they brought in his whole, like, ex-Cobra Kai gang.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I heard about that.
And they had, like, a whole episode with that. And then, of course, you know, as you saw at the end of season 1, they brought in his old teacher.
Yes.
So all of these elements, like, forced his character to kind of go in interesting directions, and I really enjoyed watching him progress, watching him kind of deal with the temptation to do things kind of as in his old teacher's way, and dealing with kind of the growth that he had in season 1, and kind of those contrasting against each other. I thought that was really interesting for this season, so I really ended up liking his performance.
Nice. My pick was Veronica Mars. Veronica Mars was back, and it was it was probably like the best season since like season 2 of Veronica Mars.
Yeah.
I really thought it was a strong comeback for the character, so I was really happy about that. Hopefully they do another season.
I think they're planning to. We'll just have to see when or if that happens.
Right, yeah, we're gonna have nothing. I don't think anything's been announced though.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But yeah, Kristen Bell was back in the role, and she was great. Veronica was great. That made my pick.
Next category is Best Antagonist.
Okay, my pick, it had to be. I knew exactly who it was going to be when I saw this. It has to be White Rose. White Rose is such a great antagonist because she is ruthless.
White Rose from Mr. Robot, just to clarify.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. White Rose from Mr. Robot. Because she is ruthless. She will do what she needs to do. She will kill anybody she needs to kill to achieve her goal. But her goal, her story is so rooted in tragedy. It's rooted in the fact that she couldn't actually be who she was in the oppressive society that she lived in. And it cost her the love of her life. And her whole mission is to try and reverse that, or try to create like a perfect world. And I think there's deeper tragedy to her character in which her goal, what she's trying to achieve, is possibly a delusion. It's possibly not even like anything that is realistic. So she's just like killing people and doing all this shit for like something she can't even achieve to begin with. And it's sad. So you really like sympathize with her in that too. Like at the same time, you're hating her because she's doing all these things, but on the other hand, you're sympathizing with her. And I thought that's really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. White Rose had a great arc this season, and it was cool to see finally some backstory on the character and to really root her in tragedy.
Yes.
Really made it much more interesting than she was very interesting before, but they really fleshed her out now.
Yeah, they really fleshed her out for this last season.
My pick was Homelander, as portrayed by Anthony Starr in The Boys.
Nice. That's a good pick, too. That was like my second pick. That was on my short list.
He's basically the answer to, what if Superman was a sociopath?
Right.
And it's amazing. I loved his relationship with the head of the group he was working for. It had this weird kind of almost like mother-son but incestual kind of relationship they had. And then just, as he started discovering that he was being lied to, and just kind of the way he reacted to it and the way things went from there were just crazy to watch. And I can't wait to watch season 2 of The Boys. So, next category is most interesting character. My pick was Crowley, as portrayed by David Tennant in Good Omens.
Another show I didn't watch that I have to get around to watching.
Yeah, it's whenever, you're gonna have like a devil-like character that's kind of morally complicated, it's always interesting. Crowley's interesting because he's like a devil who's developed this bromance with an angel. And their friendship is the center of the story, and he's the more interesting character because he's the devil. He's the devil of the two. The angel's always gonna be less interesting because they're always gonna be more receptive and loving because that's like the basic basis of an angel, but for a devil or a demon to take on that kind of characteristic, to kind of build a relationship and stuff, is much more fascinating. And I think that he ended up being a really interesting character for that series.
Yeah.
The relationship between those two characters is the heart of the whole series. So, and I think he's kind of the more interesting part of that. So, what was your pick?
My pick was the Mastermind from Mr. Robot. It was revealed in the finale that the Elliot Alderson that we were following through the series wasn't really the real Elliot. It was a third personality called the Mastermind. And he was the one behind the 9/5 attack against E-Corp and like all the stuff that they were doing throughout like the series, like on his end. Like he's the one who put together F Society.
Yeah, that was a really interesting twist. They kind of go that this character we've been following all along is one of the alters.
Yes. That was a really interesting twist, and I just thought, like, at the end, like, I just thought it was interesting, too, like, as we, the audience, didn't realize, the Mastermind himself didn't even realize that he wasn't Elliot at that point.
Yeah.
Like, Mr. Robot had to, like, show him who he was.
Yeah, like, Mr. Robot kind of started with, we saw Elliot get involved, or the Mastermind get involved in the plot against E-Corp in season 1, but then as we know later on that he had been setting all that up before we even got there, so in that sense, instead of getting us into the character and then taking us into the action, we did start in the middle of the action. Yeah. We just didn't know it yet.
Yeah, we just didn't know it. We thought the entire time that Mr. Robot was directing all of this, that Mr. Robot was the Mastermind.
Yeah, they did a really interesting kind of twist with that. So that it just, Mr. Robot did a lot with this season in recontextualizing the previous seasons. So that's going to be one that, I think at some point we're going to want to like go back and rewatch that and discuss like kind of how things are now that they're all completely recontextualized.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so the next category up is Best Scene.
I think one of the best scenes of the year was like that scene in like True Detective season 3 where the one girl, the kidnapped girl, I think her name was Lucy, and it's I'm sorry, it's hard to remember like character names from like that long ago. I'm looking it up right now. I think the little girl's name was Lucy, but like when her father goes into like that mansion and he finds like the pink room where they were holding her, and then like that figure comes up behind him, and that was probably one of the most powerful scenes from that season.
Yeah, that was amazing because and we still didn't know what that was.
Yes,
because we were seeing a perspective of him, so we weren't able to see his perspective. But we just knew he walked into this room, this like pink room, and he had this look of like, what the fuck on his face, and I think he even said something along those lines. And then we see that figure behind him, and we knew he was done for.
Yeah, we knew he was done for at that moment, and that is like one of those scenes where you're like, oof.
My pick for best scene goes in a little bit different direction. I went with the comedy direction this one. And it's again What We Do in the Shadows. And it was the Council of Vampires.
That was fantastic, yes.
One of the most cameo-filled scenes in TV this year.
That was great.
And done just brilliantly, beautifully, hilariously, you know?
The concept that was like, it was all actors who've played vampires in various shows and movies, and then we were pretending like they were really vampires in real life.
Yeah. It was hilarious, especially Wesley Snipes, like, who's just like Skyping in.
Yes, he was Skyping in, and the Skype call like did not have a good connection.
That episode had other cameos too besides the council. I mean, like Dave Bautista was in it.
One of the best parts of the council was like the original characters from the film were members of the council.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Just a great group of all these actors who'd played vampires. It was hilarious. It was great. It was a really funny scene. It was like kind of almost the pinnacle of the series, you know, of the first season. Everything kind of built up and was funny, and it just kept getting funnier and funnier, and that was like the peak funny of the season, I think.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Fantastic.
Next category is Best Comedy, and since I'm going first, it's the same one I've been talking about, What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay, I picked What We Do in the Shadows as well. Because
so good.
Because how could it not be? Like, I haven't laughed so hard at a comedy in a long time. Like, literally. I'm dying every time I turn on that show.
It made work so much easier for me because I would get up the morning after it aired, and it would be on the DVR, and I'd watch it right before, you know, as I was getting ready for work, I'd watch it, and it just, you know, I'd go from feeling nothing but dread about having to go to work to like laughing my ass off and having a smile on my face, and it made going to work so much easier, and for that alone, I'm super thankful. But the show, it's just so funny. It's just so funny.
It really is. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, it's brilliant. I'd say I recommend it to anybody, you know, because you'll laugh your ass off.
So next category is Best Drama. So it's your turn to go first.
I picked True Detective Season 3.
True Detective Season 3, yeah. That was on my short list, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps the best season of True Detective.
I'd say, perhaps.
That's debatable.
It's debatable. Season 1 was great, too. But I really loved Marshala
Season
Ali.
2 is not even in contention.
Season 2 I didn't even watch, so I'd be lying. I'd be lying if I said that was like, oh, yeah, that was a thing.
Well, I have, and I'll just say it's not even in contention.
Yeah.
It's definitely between season 1 and 3, and you know, when people talk about True Detective season 1 is this like almost mythical way, you know, like that tells you right there how good it is. And for season 3 to be on that same level, if not even better overall, just tells you a lot. And I think, you know, we mentioned it before, but Mahershala Ali in that role in those different time periods of his character.
He killed it.
And suffering with dementia, you know, just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, he killed it. It was a great comeback for the series, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. It was a redemption.
Yeah. Because
season 2 was such a flop that, you know, season 2 literally killed the series. That series went away.
Yeah, it went away for
several years.
Yeah. With, like, nobody knowing if they were going to even invest in season 3 at that point.
Yeah. So season 3 had to come back strong, and it did. definitely great. My pick for best drama should make you smile. Mr. Robot.
Yes.
Mr. Robot was just really strong, from beginning to end this season. And as I said, Sam Esmail played a lot with form, and that meant we got like some really interesting presentations, which is like the best way to end a series is to get experimental in the end, you know?
Right.
Because it's like, why not? Your series is coming to an end. Just pull out all the stops and do everything you ever wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You want like a romantic comedy airport scene at the end of an episode? Go for it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. You want to just do like an 80s romantic comedy? Then yeah, go for it. You want to do a 5-act structure play? Go for it. You want to do
a silent episode?
Silent episode? Yeah, go for it. Like, yeah, he was just doing everything. It was almost like Sam Esmail was like checking off like his bucket list.
Or just assembling his reel, you know?
Yeah, assembling his reel, yeah. It was great, though. It made for great television.
So now I'm going first for the new one, which is Best New Series. I picked Watchmen.
Okay.
We talked about this last week. You hated Watchmen. I loved Watchmen. So I just thought it was the best new season. I think that it's probably the only season. It's kind of not hard written if it is or not the only season, but like from the way Damon Lindelof has talked about it seems like it was planned as the only season. And I don't think based on the way it ends that there is really a interesting direction to go forward after that. Like everything kind of comes to a close. I mean, they could do it in a different way or something, but I loved Watchmen. I love what Damon Lindelof did. I've loved every series that he's run.
Right.
Like, you know, people talk about, like, not liking him because he, like, ghost wrote a script for some movie, and it's like, yeah, but that's not even him. That's just him being a hired gun, you know? But everything he's showrun, Lost, Leftovers, Watchmen, I've loved all of it. And, yeah, Watchmen was great. I did not anticipate it being as good as it was when I saw the first trailer for it, and I ended up loving it so much. And as I said last week, I was heartbroken that you didn't love it, but
Sam.
I want you to be honest.
Yes, I have to be honest. I can't put on a happy face just because that's what people want. It's interesting, though, because my pick for Best New Series is what I feel is like the opposite of Watchmen. It's in the same genre. It's in the same genre. I think it's in the same league. But whereas Watchmen was a show I was looking forward to, that I expected to love, based off a comic book, graphic novel, whatever you want to call it, that I adored. You know, really looking forward to. My pick, The Boys, is the opposite of that. It was something I was dreading watching because it was based off of source material, like a graphic novel that was abhorrent to me because it was like so, the source material is so gross and just mean-spirited, and you know, and I went back, I read more on the source material, and it's like, it's just stupid and gross and mean-spirited, and I hate the author, and I'm just like, so I was really dreading watching The Boys, but then when I actually watched it, I was like, this is fantastic. I don't know what they did with the source material, but they took something, they elevated the material, and they made it this really sharp, witty, you know, this biting satire of corporate America that never lets up, you know.
I'll tell you exactly what they did.
Yeah.
They hired Eric Kripke as the showrunner.
That's it. Yes, that's it. You're right.
Why do people love Supernatural? Because of the heart in the characters, you know?
Right.
So how do you take something that has no heart? You give it to a showrunner who has lots of heart, you know?
Right, exactly. And he did actually manage to inject heart and soul into the story, which is what brought it alive and made it work for television. And here it is, like my best new series of the year. I could not have predicted that when they announced it.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about that coming up, and I was super psyched about the show, and you were like, nah, not interested. And
yeah.
And then as the reviews started rolling, you're like, okay, I might check this out. And then you ended up really liking it, and I was happy to see that. So yeah, that was our picks for best new series. Now, if we have best new series, we gotta have best returning ongoing series. What is your pick?
Mr. Robot.
Same for me. We can roll that through real quick.
Yeah, the only reason Mr. Robot wasn't best drama for me is because I don't like to give best series and best drama to the same show. So I was like, if Mr. Robot is going to be the best returning ongoing series, then something else has got to take best drama. Because Mr. Robot is just on that next level.
Yeah, Mr. Robot, it just had such a good final season. I had it as my pick as well. It was on a short list. Watchmen was on there. There were some other things that were on there, but Mr. Robot just ended up taking it just because of the strength of that final season, and just how they brought it together and ended it. Just super strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And lastly, we have Best Network Channel or Streaming Service of the Year. My pick, surprising myself, I was going to pick Netflix, because that's almost just like the default pick for the category. I know some people might say Disney Plus, and I'm like, why? For one show?
For The Mandalorian, like, it's not even that great.
And honestly, the pick I made is probably didn't even have as good of a year as Netflix. But the reason I picked it is for how much it strengthened this year, and that's Amazon Prime. So
Fair.
Netflix is pretty much the overall king all the time for this award for me usually. But, you know, and I going through, you know, the shows that I watch and stuff, and you look at what Netflix put out this year, and it's insane. Like, it's easy to forget how much good stuff they put out. But I gotta give attention to Amazon Prime just because they went from being like us looking at Amazon and going, what the fuck are you doing? Like, look at what Netflix is doing, and you're spending like as much as they are, and what are you doing? Like, what's going on here? Like, you look at what you're putting out. You're not putting out shit, you know? But then look this year. They got The Boys. They got, you know, the Marvelous Miss Maisel they had another season of. They're just strong. They're really strong this season.
I admit, like, The Boys is probably, like, the first, like, for me, like, the first must-see show on Amazon. So
yeah, they got The Expanse now. You know,
mean, and I still have to catch up on The Expanse, but I will make a point to do that sometime in 2020.
They really just ramped up this year, and I'm really happy to see that. And I think they're just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and become more of a notable competition to Netflix. So I had to kind of honor them for just making that step. Like, this is the first year where, like, I felt like they're an actual true competitor.
That's good. I still went with Netflix this year.
It's hard not to.
It's hard not to. I mean, they had the most of what, I enjoyed, like, came out on Netflix. They had Stranger Things Season 3. They had The Umbrella Academy. They had Glow. They had The Witcher, which I'm enjoying. It's the sheer amount of content they put out that it's hard. You're going to be hard pressed to find something that you don't like. You know?
Yeah, it's kind of mind boggling the amount they put out.
Yeah, it is. It is. I would say, yeah, The Boys was a feather in Amazon's cap this year. I think Amazon really needs to step it up, needs to start putting out more good stuff. It's hard to compete with Netflix's budget. For anybody who says like Disney Plus is going to be a danger to Netflix, like say,
maybe once all the MCU shows are running, you know?
But not.
You got like another full year before that's happening.
Yeah, you got another full year before that's happening. And I'm gonna try not to like fanboy too much and like make it Disney Plus next year just for Marvel shows. I'm gonna try and take a holistic view of what Disney Plus puts out throughout the year from their whole catalog.
Which isn't much.
Yeah, which isn't going to be, I don't think it's going to be much. I'm like, kind of like, I didn't really need to buy a year of this up front. That was kind of stupid.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's having this reaction of like, well, I guess I can cancel Disney Plus now, and then my head kind of turns down like, oh,
yeah,
I probably should have done month to month, huh?
Yes.
I really kind of thought they would announce something else, but like Mandalorian ended and that was just kind of like, okay, well, I guess we're done for a year. Thanks for all those annual subscriptions.
Yeah. Really, I fell prey to the hype.
Definitely. It was like they had good deals on that 1 year subscription too, so I mean.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what I fell prey to. I'm like, oh, I can save this much by getting it for the whole year. And then I'm like, well, actually, since I'm not really watching it anymore, I would have saved a lot more going month to month. But yeah, like, it was funny the way people reacted to Disney Plus as like, man, Disney Plus so much better than Netflix and stuff. It's like, yeah, I got one show.
Yeah. I got one show and it's okay. Exactly. It wasn't even like...
And it's over!
It's over now.
And now you got nothing till, fall. That's pretty funny. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the new stuff coming to Disney+. But yeah, I mean, they weren't a real player this year. And Apple TV, I mean, just...
Apple TV was just...
Who cares?
Go home, Apple. Go home, Apple. You're drunk.
Yeah. They really came down to just Amazon, Netflix, or, and then you get away from the streaming services like HBO and stuff, which, HBO was in consideration too, but I mean, I don't know, Game of Thrones kind of set the wrong tone this year for them.
It did.
But, yeah, when it came down to it, my pick, Amazon Prime, just because, like I said, Netflix is hard to argue against, and I don't, actually think Amazon Prime had a better lineup than Netflix. I just wanted to kind of give them recognition for stepping up their game this year.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but yeah, I mean, Netflix is the obvious pick, Definitely. It was really hard for me to choose Prime over that, just for that very reason. But, both good streaming services. And in the end, I think we're the winners.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, in the end, we win.
As cliche as that sounds, it's the truth. I mean, people complain about having too much TV and stuff, but we're at that point now where you can basically just watch stuff that appeals directly to you. It's not even I guess I'll check out this show. I've heard it's good. It's no, this show looks like it was designed and written and produced specifically for me alone. And you could pretty much have a full slate of stuff to watch just doing that. And that's because of Netflix and Amazon Prime and all these players coming in and just putting out shit tons of content. So, yeah, that was our last category. Do you have any honorable mentions you wanted to bring up?
Not really.
There were a lot of ones that just didn't quite make the list for me. Umbrella Academy didn't really make the list for me on any of the awards. You had it for one of yours, so we were able to talk about it a little.
Yes.
There are some other ones that kind of made it. Barry was really good this year. Some other ones, but there's just so much. It's hard to if we really wanted to bring up honorable mentions, I'd probably have a list of 40. So we'll just kind of stop where we're at, I think. But that's it. That's our best of 2019. Tell us what you think. Don't slam us for our views. Just kind of post yours. Yeah, that's what we thought. So check out those shows if you haven't already, or let us know what shows we were foolish enough to miss out on. So, all that's left is to talk about what's coming up in the week ahead. So, in the next 2 weeks, here's what's coming up on today. As we're recording this Monday, January 13th, The Good Doctor returned to ABC. The New Pope comes back to HBO. The Healing Powers of Dude comes to Netflix. On Tuesday, January 14th, the CW shows all start coming back to the CW, all the Arrowverse stuff. So, Arrow is back on the CW. Legends of Tomorrow back on the CW. Also that day, New Amsterdam and This Is Us return on NBC. On Wednesday, January 15th, Nancy Drew returns to the CW, The Goldbergs to ABC, Schooled to ABC, SWAT to CBS, 68 Whiskey to Paramount, Good Trouble to Freeform, Grace and Frankie to Netflix, and for our personal taste, The Magicians on Sci-Fi.
Yes.
Which we will be talking about next week along with The Good Place. Then on Thursday, January 16th, Legacies comes back to the CW, as does Supernatural. This is Supernatural coming back from its hiatus on its final season, so it'll be its last episodes. Also, Everything's Gonna Be Okay on Freeform, Grownish on Freeform, and the Ni no Kuni series, anime series on Netflix. On Friday, January 17th, Charmed and Dynasty back on the CW, Fresh Off the Boat and American Housewife on ABC, Little America on Apple TV+, Sex Education returns on Netflix, and Aries comes to Netflix. On Sunday, January 19th, 2020, Batwoman back on the CW, as well as Supergirl. 911 Lone Star debuts on Fox, Vienna Blood on PBS, Avenue 5 on HBO. That's the show that's got Hugh Laurie in it, and it's it's set in space.
Oh, yeah, that's the one by the guy who made Veep and The Thick of It.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to check out. It'll probably be a highly acclaimed show that doesn't really look that interesting to me yet.
Yeah. Well, I saw it. I saw the trailer, and I knew immediately, without them telling me, who was behind it, because, the style of it. I just thought,
yeah.
Oh, okay, this is Armando Iannucci doing Star Trek. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Much more exciting for me is Curb Your Enthusiasm returns on HBO. That only comes every couple seasons, so always happy to see that come back. On Monday, January 20th, All American and Black Lightning return on CW, Prodigal Son on Fox, Carter on WGN and Family Reunion on Netflix. Tuesday, January 21st, Bless This Mess and The Connors on ABC, Legends of Tomorrow on the CW. That's when it's hitting its new showtime, I guess, because it's actually starting. I don't know actually why I have that twice on my schedule. That's a mistake on my part, I guess. Okay. And Project Blue Book on History. Wednesday, January 22nd, Riverdale on the CW. Aquafina is Nora from Queens on Comedy Central. Thursday, January 23rd, Grey's Anatomy on ABC for some reason is still on the air. A Million Little Things on ABC and Station 19 on ABC. Outmatched on Fox, The Bold Type on Freeform, The Dead Leads on Shudder, The Red Shadows on Sundance Now, Star Trek Picard. Are you going to watch that on CBS All Access?
Well, probably not, because it's on CBS All Access.
Yeah. Just get a VPN and use Netflix or something. Say you're in Europe.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, The Ghost Bride on Netflix and October Faction on Netflix. I showed you a trailer for that. That looks kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah, that's
October
right.
Faction.
Yeah, you did show me that. I had, that one woman from Bones. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and it's got kind of a little bit of a supernatural vibe to it.
Yeah, a little bit.
On Friday, January 24th, Shrill returns on Hulu, The Ranch on Netflix, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix. And lastly, on Sunday, January 26th, Our Cartoon President returns to Showtime. So, if you're just trying to deal with the current state of the world in cartoon funny form, there you go. Next week, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing The Good Place and The Magicians, and we're going to be setting up our preparations for our upcoming Lost rewatch, which is going to be beginning, I believe, on the 23rd or 24th is the first day to be starting the Lost rewatch. Let me check real quick. Yeah, the 24th. So if you want to do the Lost rewatch with us, you got to start on the pilot episode on the 24th. But we're going to talk a little bit about Lost next week. We're going to mainly talk about The Good Place and The Magicians, but we'll talk a little bit about Lost because it'll be right before the rewatch starts. So yeah, that's it. Thank you everybody for listening. You can follow me on Twitter. I am at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will. He is at Fluxel Hero. Check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, thetotalscreen.com. You can subscribe to the podcast through any major podcast client, like iTunes or Pocket Cast. And the entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Good night.
Good night.
If you would like to reach out to us and make a comment, send an email to contact@thetotalscreen.com. Stay tuned to The Total Screen for the very best